These three coins have the potential to 50 to 100x in the upcoming altcoin cycle. In this video, we're going to dig into how you find a 100x coin and exactly what you need to be looking at to identify these amazing crypto opportunities. But more importantly, probably above everything else, is identifying when those opportunities are actually going to be presented, and then at the end of it, how to sell at the right time as well. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take money out of these markets and put it into your pocket, you can just be talking absolute rubbish. So let's be honest, most people that are telling you that they can pick and tell you any coins which are going to 100% guaranteed 100x are usually talking out of their ass completely. But the coins I'm going to show you guys, they are high risk, but they also are extremely high reward if they do play out in the way that I'm seeing. So let's jump into the charts and have a quick look. Okay, guys, first up, the coin that we're going to talk about here is ASIO Network. This is an AI coin, which I believe has really big upside for the rest of the cycle. This went absolutely nuts. Look at this price appreciation pump that we had at the start of the year when this first started to take off, and we went through our original AI cycle. Now, I do believe that there is going to be another AI cycle coming up, and it's probably going to start after Bitcoin pushes to a new all-time high. If we go back and have a look at what happened in the last crypto cycle, altcoins and everything else started to take off really aggressively after Bitcoin moved up past its first all-time high, about to the mid-30s, and then had its first pullback. The next push that Bitcoin had, all the altcoins really started to take off quite aggressively from that point moving forward. So that is the timing that we're going to be looking for this. And I do believe that around that time in the cycle is when AI coins are going to finally make their move in a big way. So what we want to be looking for is when we see a breakdown of the trend line here, which has been holding as resistance, and we start to move into making higher highs and higher lows again, that is when we want to be looking to take allocations of these coins, because until then, they can easily bleed out. The other way to play these is by waiting for them to continue to bleed out and make new lows, and then waiting for them to, say, put in a swing failure pattern, which is a sweep of a previous low and then a reclaim. We look for setups and entry points like that to start averaging in. And then the other point as well that you can look at is when you have an oversold period on the RSI, you can start to average in when we're in the oversold area as well. And then just take a month or two to start to average in. So one of the reasons why I like ASIO Network is recently they were actually named, or listed, I should say, as the first company that was one of the first DePIN companies listed on the NVIDIA Accelerated Applications Catalog. So everybody knows that NVIDIA is one of the big dogs in the entire industry when it comes to AI, and they're already giving attention to this crypto project. It's still a pretty low valuation, so it's only 400. So it's only 453 million. That was a bit of a tongue twister, sorry. It's only 453 million in its valuation. Now, I don't think this one, realistically, it's not going to 100x in the cycle, because that would mean it would have to hit $45 billion. But I do believe that this can 25 to 50x pretty easily. And guys, that is still absolutely ridiculous returns. And we have been seeing the AI coins actually lead the entire market. So I wouldn't be surprised when we see, for example, FET take off, that this takes off and follows pretty quickly afterwards. And that could be a little bit of a tell as well, because all the AI coins seem to move in unison, but FET is usually the leader. And now we know that FET has joined forces with Ocean and AGIX as well to create the super artificial intelligence alliance, or whatever it is that they're calling it, right? So I believe that there is huge potential here for ASIO Network and a bunch of the other lower cap AI projects as well. But I just like this one because they already have the recognition from NVIDIA that they're doing great things, and we could see this one take off in a big way when altcoins start to move, which I'm going to show you exactly what will happen and when you can use the charts to identify when you need to be taking them. The next project that could 50 to 100x, guys, is Unio and the Unioverse. Now, I love this project because I believe that its potential to completely change the game in the way that people look at the gaming industry, and then how they're going to intertwine that in with the crypto industry. Two Goliath industries coming together, and I think that this one is an absolute game changer. Now, the big kicker in what they are doing here, they're not just creating a game. Like most crypto games, they create a game and then there's some kind of monetization PvP thing going on, and you can take your project and go do missions or whatever it is like that, and you can lend out assets and NFTs and all that sort of stuff. And there's where you have seen some projects absolutely pump incredibly hard in the last cycle off the back of those ideas. You look at Illuvium, which absolutely launched, and you look at Axie Infinity, which absolutely sent very, very aggressively. I believe that this is sort of bringing things into a whole new space now. And what they're doing is they're creating a universe where people can actually plug into that universe and create their own game based off based off the characters and the creations that they've built inside this universe. It's almost like how we have all these different universes like that are going on with the superhero movies, for example, and you have all the different movies, but they're all part of that same cinematic universe, like Marvel or something like that. But what they're doing is they've created the Unioverse, which is all these really cool characters, and these characters can do a whole heap of different things, and they can be characters in multiple different games. So the thing that is really sticks out for me is they're creating this coin, which is Unio coin, and you're going to need the tokens to play in all these different games. And there's going to be all NFTs, and you use the token as currencies inside the games. You use the token to buy the NFTs and interact with the project in all these different games. But then also the developers are going to be needing a whole heap of tokens and Unio tokens as well. So there's going to be extreme amounts of token syncs coming across everywhere, throughout the entire project, from people playing the game to people building games using this IP and this infrastructure that the guys have built out. And I believe that the tokenomics for this project are really, really well developed to create pumpermentals. I also know one of the teams that's working on this project that have actually built out and developed the tokenomics, and I believe that they're one of the best consultants in the entire industry. These guys, have been around for a long, long time. They've been in the game. They're very early Bitcoin adopters. They've been in the industry for over 10 years, and they know tokenomics like the back of their hand, and they know what works with projects, and they know what kills projects. And they've developed this in a specific way to make it so that investors and people trading this coin are going to do very, very well. So this one is coming out. My understanding is it's scheduled for 17th of September to be listed, but we're still waiting for final additional comments from the team and when that's going to all be coming into place. So really excited to see what's coming up next for Unioverse and when they're actually going to be dropping their TGE. So you can jump onto the website, have a quick look around. We can't do much analysis on this one because it hasn't just listed yet, but you could be early enough to grab this as soon as it lists on Marketplace, which could happen. Rumors are that it's going to list on KuCoin around the 17th of September. So jump in, have a look, read the light paper, get a good understanding of what this project is doing, and maybe it could be a good idea to start to average in through September and early October. And then I think this will be a really great project with huge potential for the rest of the bull run, especially when we jump across into the gaming narrative of the cycle. So we've covered off AI and we've covered off the gaming narrative. Now, the next project we're going to talk about here is Block Drop. Now, Block Drop coin probably has the most potential out of all the coins I've talked about today to actually 100x. So this is a coin that I've got my eye on very, very closely. And I'm actually quite a large holder of this because I think this thing is going to absolutely launch. There's one reason why I believe that this could 100x, and that's because it is so extremely oversold right now. Let's go and have a quick look at the chart and I'll explain to you a few things about this coin. So, first of all, this coin is massively oversold after, a lot of volatility when it first launched and probably listed much higher than what it should have been. And then it had a huge pullback all the way down to where the pre-sale price was at about 20 cents. And now it's gone even deeper, far below pre-sale price, down to basically 4 cents we're at right now. So the potential for this to run and 100x because it's so extremely oversold. Now, if we go and have a look at the fully diluted valuation, it's only $4.4 million. So this definitely has potential to end up 100xing. The next project we're going to talk about here, guys, is Block Drop. Now, I believe out of all the coins I've shown you today, that Block Drop probably has the most potential to actually hit a 100x. And the main reason for that is it is extremely oversold. Now, there's a really good reason for that, and I'll explain it to you just in a second. So what this project actually does is for every block drop token that you hold, you get a reward in Solana at the end of every single week. Now, every token that you hold actually gives you an allocation of Bitcoin miners. So what they do, the headline, as you can see here, unlocking Bitcoin mining for everyone. So if you want to get involved in Bitcoin mining and get Bitcoin mining rewards, you can just take your capital, USDC, or whatever it is, and buy some block drop. And every week you will get a return based on the amount of profit that those miners actually generate. Now, the thing is right now, we're not getting any returns. And usually we get a return in Solana paid out to us every single week. Now, the reason why we're not getting any returns at the moment is that pretty much all Bitcoin miners are not profitable right now. So once the Bitcoin mining network actually becomes profitable again, and if you want to know more about this and why this happens, check out some of my videos I've recorded on how the halving works. Basically, right now, Bitcoin miners are not profitable and they're underwater. So what happens is miners stop selling their coins and they just pay the bills to try and get by. Now, being a block drop holder, we don't have to take a loss while that's happening. The company that we're working with, they actually take the hit for us until it gets back into profitability. Then we will start receiving our block drop rewards every single week. So at the moment, we're not receiving any rewards. So realistically, the project isn't really working as it's designed to until Bitcoin gets back above $68,000. So when we had the halving, that increased the difficulty, and basically to be profitable, instead of Bitcoin being 35K, it really needs to be about $68,000 to $70,000 for miners to be profitable. And that's pretty much all miners across Europe and in the US. And this happens almost every single cycle. So the thing is, most traders and investors are very short-sighted. Now, Warren Buffett says that the stock market is a tool to move money and capital or wealth from people who are patient, from people who are impatient to the patient, right? So basically, patience is a virtue. And if you have time to wait for long enough, you will be rewarded in the long run, right? So with block drop, let's go and have a quick look at the chart. And we can see that there's been a huge sell-off here. Now, the pre-sale price was 20 cents. And we're currently trading at 4.8 cents. So that is an unbelievably low price for a project that is absolutely working and will continue to work once the Bitcoin price gets high enough for our Bitcoin miners to start paying us out again. And that's pretty much it. So as soon as Bitcoin goes on its bull run and breaks to new all-time highs and heads above 70K, those miners are going to start to be very profitable again. And then what will happen is you will get paid out for a percentage every single week of what that profit is straight in Solana into your wallet. You're holding the block drop tokens in every single week. The returns at this price right now are absolutely massive. So I've been buying up in hopes that eventually Bitcoin will go on its bull run and break to new all-time highs, and then I'll be getting some really big fat Solana rewards. I think once that happens, the project will start marketing and pushing out basically what the project does, and I think people will catch on and the idea for this project will catch on. And this easily could head back up to previous all-time highs, if not higher. Now, the total fully diluted valuation is just 4.4 million. So definitely 100x potential there. Maybe we end up at $450 million. I've seen some worse projects up and around that those sort of areas. The project will also be bringing on more miners as the project grows as well, which could increase the amount of tokens that we're getting, Solana tokens we're getting as rewards every single week. Now, we've highlighted some of the best projects that I think are coming up. I've got one more token for you that could be an amazing bonus token. Now, this is the last project we're going to talk about today, guys, and that is Proof of Play. So nice little bonus for you. This coin has massive, massive potential. I'm not sure what it's going to list at, so it's hard to say how much X percentage it will run, but I think that this could be one of the biggest projects for all of 2025. Now, the project is called Proof of Play. They actually have a game running on this network already. This is basically what they call a layer 3, which is an extra layer on top of a layer 2 that's on Ethereum. Okay, so a little bit, mental gymnastics to play around with that, especially if you're new to the space. But basically, it works as a roll up, and it's a core foundation for any Web3 game. And people are going to, a lot of projects are going to end up using Proof of Play to run their Web3 gaming project on. Now, they already have a project which is called Pirate Nation. Pirate Nation has had massive, massive success, and it's been doing really, really well. I'm actually friends with one of the founders. I've known this guy since I was about 20 years old, and he's been developing some huge games over in the US for a long time. He worked on some really big, very, very well known games, and these guys are a really, really impressive team. One of the other founders. So my friend was one of the core developers for League of Legends for a long time, and then the other co-founder of this project was the creator of Farmville. So a couple of big names there you might have heard. I think Farmville was one of the biggest apps ever on Facebook gaming. But I think this is going to be absolutely huge. Pirate Nation, I think, is going to be huge, and their token has been doing really well. Also, Pirate, because you need that to actually play and interact with the game. But I want to look at the bigger picture, and I think that Proof of Play, when that does finally list, could be absolutely massive. Now, Proof of Play. Let's switch back over. Proof of Play is the underlying foundation which Pirate Nation is currently running on. So they built Proof of Play, and then they built Proof of Play, and then they built Pirate Nation on top of that to basically prove to everybody how good their infrastructure project actually was. Now, to give you guys an idea, let's go and have a look at the roll-ups here. Now, you can see that they are right at the top, Proof of Play Apex, and this is their main chain, which Pirate Nation is running on at the moment. And you can see that their MGAS, which is basically the mega gas, million gas per second, they are number one on top of every other roll-up layer 2 that exists on Ethereum. Okay. And they are in the lead by a long, long way, more than double what Base is. So this project is going to be absolutely massive once it launches. I think people are going to see, just looking at the statistics and data, that there's users It works really well, and I think just more and more people are going to build on top of proof of play. It's just going to continue to grow and grow because the team is amazing and they are doing everything right. They're a US-based team and they have a really impressive background. So in my opinion, this is going to be an absolute winner. We can also see that the other chain, Proof of Play Boss, is the third chain. So the top two chains that they have are basically in the top three. So they've got two of the top three chains right now and absolutely smashing it there. So I think once this finally does go live, Proof of Play blockchain is going to be absolutely huge. And this will be one of the big stories of 2025. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one. And now we're going to jump into the charts. I'm going to show you exactly when we want to be looking to buy into a lot of these because there are going to be a few really good tells. So one of the main things that we want to be looking at here is the DXY chart, okay? So there's a lot of talk at the moment about the US deliberately devaluing the US dollar. And usually when that happens, that means that they're going to start printing. So lowering interest rates, that will put pressure, downwards pressure on the DXY. The DXY is the US dollar versus a basket of other currencies and gold. Eventually, they might start running against Bitcoin as well. But I think we need to get Bitcoin up around, the market cap of around gold, which is around 13 trillion, which, just so you know, would be a multi-six-figure Bitcoin price because we're just about 1.5 trillion at the moment. So solid 10x for us to get around those levels. But at the moment, it's just against a basket of currencies and against gold. But what will happen is eventually this is going to roll over because they're going to put more downwards pressure on the dollar by lowering interest rates, but then also printing US dollars. Usually the US is one of the bigger ones that's the first to print. And when that happens, US dollar actually gets devalued. And we could easily see it come all the way back down to about 89, which is there was sort of the range low and previous range high of around, the early 2008s and, sort of before that period in, 2004, 2005. So it's sort of like the middle of the range is around this 90 or 88 to sort of, 95 area. I could definitely see that being a magnet, and all of 2025 we pull all the way back down to around that 88 to 90 area. And this will put upwards pressure on all assets. So we'll see Bitcoin pump, gold will pump very aggressively, all stocks will pump very, very hard. And basically, whenever we have these drawdowns in the US dollar, that is when crypto pumps very aggressively, right? So we can see in 2017, when we had that insane bull run in Bitcoin, that was when we had a pullback and a downtrend in the US dollar. Then the next time we had that was in 2020 and 2021, which was when we had, another pullback in the DXY. And that was when we kicked off our crypto bull run. Okay. So then when we had the DXY taking off and pushing to new highs, that was when we had our bear market, okay, for all of 2022. So 2022 started here. In fact, I'll just go and show you guys. It was about here, this point here, November 10th of November 2021, when the Bitcoin all-time high was hit. And you can see the entire bear market until it bottomed, which was pretty much at this point here, November 2022. That was when we were in a bear market for crypto, while the US dollar was ripping higher, right? So when the US dollar is pulling back, Bitcoin pumps really aggressively, and then there's a rotation of that capital through into Ethereum and then through into altcoins. So this going into a downtrend and coming back around to that 88 level is going to be very, very bullish for cryptocurrency. And then rolling into our altcoins. The next thing we want to look at here is the total 3 chart, okay? So total 3, basically what we see here is we've had an accumulation range for the last couple of years. We've broken out really nice support and resistance flip of about $450 billion and then a really strong rally out of that. So that's the first markup push out of the accumulation range, right? And then we have a pullback, which is our reaccumulation, okay? So we're having a reaccumulation, which has been pretty aggressive to the downside, and that's why we've seen a lot of altcoins have some pretty big sell-offs. So it's pulled back about 41% in total, which is pretty standard because altcoins, remember, they're high risk, high return, and that high risk part means that they're extremely volatile. They'll have huge pullbacks, but then they'll also pump really aggressively. Right, so when we want to be looking to allocate into our coins is when we break this downtrend through here, because that will be a bit of a tell that this is getting ready to move to the upside. But then the most important thing will be once it returns into an uptrend. So this potentially is the low for this down cycle here. What we want to see is a new lower high getting put in. So low gets put in here, and then a higher low, I should say, sorry, I always tongue twist myself on that. So a higher low gets put in here, and then we want to see a higher high. So we flip that high here, and then we test the top of that, and then bounce off that, and then break this high here, and that will be a confirmed uptrend. Once we have that, then we can look at things like ASIO, for example. Sorry, ASIO, I should say. It's AOS, breaking out. But you can see that it's almost the same chart, like total 3, and then we look at AOS, right? It's almost the same chart. So we're looking for similarities, but what we want to see probably is this level here get broken. You can either average in as this bleeds out, and potentially get a retest of the value area low here. Remember, September is usually the most bearish month of the cycle, of the year, and then after that, October is the strongest month of the year. So I want to be looking to allocate throughout September. The other thing we need to remember is at the end of the month, the middle of the month, September 17, we also have FOMC when they're very likely to drop interest rates. That could shape things up as well. But what we want to see to confirm this is moving back into an uptrend is we have that higher low get put in, so maybe a bit of a range here, and then a breakout and flip of this level here, pretty much at 0.62. Now that will give us a really good indication that this is getting ready to pump very aggressively. Okay, so the other coin we wanted to look at is FET. Now, FET is almost the same chart again, right? But we're a little bit deeper and we're actually hanging around the value area low, which is always a nice spot to be looking to reaccumulate and look for that rally from, the value area low and a full rotation back up to the value area high. So potential otherwise is also here for a inverse head and shoulders, right? So potentially we chop around here for the rest of September and then get a nice breakout. And what we'll be looking for here is a flip of our developing yearly VWAP, which is basically 1.60. And then from there, that will give us a strong indication that this is getting ready to move out of its downtrend and back into an uptrend. By this stage, Bitcoin should also be looking to move out of its range that's been in sideways for many months now. Right? We've been sideways in this Bitcoin range, and it's struggling to break out of pretty much 70, 72K. And what we would need to be seeing is a breakout of our value area high, which is now pretty much 69K, right? So a breakout of that mid-October will give us really a lot of confidence. We get some sort of setup like this, the falling wedge breakout, inverse head and shoulders breakout, and flipping the developing yearly VWAP. That will give me a lot of confidence to start to allocate into altcoins like Fetch, FET AI, and into ASIO, okay? And then we can look at, allocating to some higher risk things like block drop, and then into Unio, because that should be listed by then as well. And what we're really looking for is the total market cap of altcoins to take off with Bitcoin, and then basically a rising tide lifts all boats, guys. And that's what we're ultimately looking for. Now, the last thing that I want to show you guys here is we are actually starting to see a turnaround in global liquidity starting to kick into the market. And that is mostly being pushed right now by China. What we really need to see is the US starting to add in some more liquidity, because that's been in a bit of a downtrend for pretty much all of 2024. And that, in my opinion, is what's sort of weighing on the Bitcoin price right now. Once we get a little bit more liquidity injection, which should start to come in 2025, in my opinion, they're lowering rates at the moment. The next thing is to start increasing liquidity in the markets. China will be forced to do it as well, and everybody else will just follow suit, and we'll see the EU start to take off. The reason why this has been so flat for so long is because they've been trying to squash inflation. Now that's kind of out of the picture. It will go back into supporting the economy, creating stimulus, creating jobs moving forward. So That's what we're looking for moving forward, and that is ultimately what will help break Bitcoin out of this range that it's been in and get it to new all-time highs. And then that liquidity will flow into the higher risk coins, the more beta assets like the coins, the 100x coins that I've been talking about today. So thanks a lot for listening in, guys. Hope you all got massive value out of that video, and we'll catch you all in the next